Hello, good morning. This is Sam Hart from Comic-Con Worlds, and just 1 minute to set up things here, just to make sure that we're transmitting via YouTube and via the Comic-Con Worlds website. So it seems that, yep, we're on YouTube. Now I just have to copy the link into the Comic-Con page. And we should be on the Comic-Con page in just a second. Today I'll be talking again about watercolors. So I'm going to finish the piece that I didn't exactly start yesterday. I already had the piece in very light tones of grey, and now I'll be finishing up the heavier dark areas. Okay, so we're transmitting. Let me just check if the sound is working. Yes, we are. Okay, good. So I'll get to the drawing table and let's begin. So yesterday I had this whole piece in very light grays, and it's a black and white piece obviously, but I decided to darken up quite a few areas, punch up the contrast. I worked in with a watercolor pencil, and today I'll be working with the background and these background figures. Now the paper's dried out, so I'm going to throw a bit of water. I'm going to start with the figures before I go on to this cloud effect at the back. So as I mentioned yesterday, this piece is half ink, water and ink, and half black watercolor. Now I want the background to be slightly lighter than the foreground figure, and another way to make them slightly stand out from each other is I want the background to be a bit looser. So I'm going. That's why I made the paper wet, because I want the ink to spread out a bit more than the figure. So the figure is tighter. It's got tighter inks, where the background will be a bit looser and hopefully a bit more drippier. Let the water spread out a bit more onto the paper. Working from top to bottom, and more often than not from left to right. I have to pay attention if the water starts drying out too much. Then I'll throw some more water on top. One thing that is very different doing lives than actually just working on the piece is that normally when I'm working, I'll be listening to music, and I might be thinking about some of the things that I'm mentioning here, like what are my intentions, what do I want to do, where I need to, I might be thinking about the piece of art, or I might be thinking about something else completely different, but obviously I won't be talking out loud, so that's something new that this whole virtual experience has brought. Is drawing and talking at the same time. I mean, half the things that I talk about, I don't think that an audience is going to be interested in. Quite often it's just the bills or the washing up or cleaning up the house or something else to do with personal life. It's not all the time 100% art that occupies my thinking. And sometimes it's just very loose thoughts about art. You know, it might be something about an artist that I saw. I might be thinking about his technique or her technique. I might be thinking about what can I do with this piece? Where can I show this piece? Who's the kind of person that might be interested in buying this piece or talking about this piece with me? Um, yeah, so sometimes we have a friend who does work in a similar style. We think, oh yeah, I can talk to them about this, and I wonder how he or she manages with reflections or light or shadow, and so sometimes it's not even a fully formed thought. It's just it's an almost thought that often goes off in different ways and places. Sometimes it's just half a thought and a lot of digressions throughout the process. But basically, as going through what I mentioned yesterday, the things that I'm thinking about most of the time in the drawing, in the art piece, at this point, where it's the final stages, I'm thinking about making the light source consistent, making sure that the illuminated areas are consistent with what I've imagined as the light source and with other areas. And in this case, because my focus is punching up the black areas, it is making sure, is it dark enough? Do I want a gradient here? Do I want pure black? Do I want more water or less? So I'm focused on light and dark, I suppose. There's, I don't know if other artists put it in these terms, but when I used to paint with oil paints, I got this feeling that painting is pushing paint around, and with watercolors it feels very much like it's pushing the water around. There was a movie quite some years ago with John Cusack and Billy Bob Thornton called Pushing Tin. It was about air traffic controllers, and I thought the expression was quite interesting. You know, pushing airplanes around, and here it's pushing paint. So basically, I've done the figures, and these figures are looser than the main figure. They're more ethereal, so they can stand out against one another. And now I'm gonna do this mist, this fog behind them, and I want that to be even looser. And even if the paint runs, that's fine. So I'm going in with more water in the background, a lot more water, and I'm going for a bigger brush, And I'll still start out with a not as dark color, just to be sure that the ink is spreading. Good. And I'll do this much looser and occasionally throwing in a bit more ink. Now, even with the mist, I'm going to try and keep some sense of the light coming in from above, so the top area will be lighter. And even in these areas, I might be trying to make it look fluffier, maybe. So I'll still have in mind that there's light coming in from above. I don't know about other artists. I suppose it might be similar, but often I'll have an idea of where I want to get to with the art, and there are especially with watercolors, there's a lot of chance going on. I'm pushing the actual watercolor around the page, but I'm also pushing the whole piece closer and closer to what I imagine in my head, this image of light and dark and figures mixing in with each other. So I'm pushing the whole piece forward, and at some point it'll get as close as possible to what I have in my head. I won't be able to see any other details or places that it might improve. And that's basically when I have to stop. Now I'm just going in with basically water. So I want to mask the areas where I want the ink to run. So I don't want the ink to invade the lettering, at least not too much. So I just throw in the water, and then when I come back with the ink, it won't overrun too much the other areas. So I'm almost done with the basic painting. But then there will be details, loose details, as in throwing in a bit more water letting the paint run, letting the paint spread out a bit more. And throwing in droplets of paint. Now these droplets, they will spread out, and they won't be as dark as they are at the moment. And some of them we can bring back if they're too strong. Okay, now this is pretty much what I had in mind. As I said, the image I've been working towards. And I think I'll have to wait for this to dry out and possibly throw a bit of white, speckles of white around, but just about this is what I've been imagining for the light and dark. Maybe just throw a bit more paint up here. Right. I think that will be it for today. So I hope it was useful, either as a pastime or for study. For me, it was great getting on with this piece. And later today, I'll be talking about some of my more recent projects, 10 Lost Days and Mega Ultra. So have a great day and see you soon.